In my previous life, at our engagement banquet, to please my fiancé, I endured the humiliation from his first love, only to end up with my family ruined and myself dying miserably on the streets. Reincarnated back to this engagement day, I smiled as I saw the fragile first love in his arms. In front of all the city's elites, I smashed the wine glass and pointed at that scumbag and his mistress. Since you two love each other so much, I'll step aside from the position of your wife. Whoever wants it can have it, I don't care. Quinn, why aren't you speaking? Are you too overjoyed? A gentle yet deliberately intimate voice rang in my ear, like a cone wrapped in honey that stabbed painfully into my eardrums. I snapped back to reality, the dazzling light refracted by the crystal chandelier before me making my eyes sting. The scent of premium champagne mingled with the aroma of food lingered in the air. Well-dressed men and women held glasses, whispering among themselves, their gazes occasionally drifting toward our table. This is the presidential suite of Celestial Palace, the most exclusive private club in City A. Today is the engagement party for the arranged marriage between Sebastian and me. I slowly raised my head and looked at the man sitting across from me, dressed in a bespoke suit, elegant yet aloof. Sebastian, the heir to the Titan Ridge Group, my nominal fiancé. He was looking down at his phone, his slender fingers sliding across the screen as if this pivotal banquet, which concerns the future of both families, held less importance than a financial news report. On his face was the familiar expression of disgust and impatience I had seen for a full decade. And sitting beside me was his treasured beloved, his white moonlight, Vivian. She wore a pure white dress today, her makeup was delicate and innocent, and her eyes, glistening with tears, looked at me with concern, as if I were her dearest little sister. Sebastian, Quinn seems unwell. Hurry and check on her, she said softly to Sebastian. Sebastian finally lifted his eyes from his phone, his deep gaze sweeping over me, cold and devoid of any warmth, as his thin lips parted to say, "What a drama queen." As I watched this all too familiar, sickening scene unfold before me, my heart felt as if it were being gripped by an invisible hand, the pain so intense it nearly stole my breath away. In my previous life, right at this very moment, I spilled red wine in a moment of nervousness and jealousy, staining Vivian's dress. Sebastian slapped me in front of everyone, then left arm in arm with a tearful Vivian, leaving me to become the laughingstock of the entire city. That engagement party marked the beginning of my 10-year marriage of humiliation. For 10 years, I loved him like a fool, holding back all my temper, cooking and cleaning for him, trying to please his harsh mother, and exhausting myself for the cooperation between our two families. But what was the outcome? Once Titan Ridge Group used my family to establish itself, they kicked us aside. My father suffered a cerebral hemorrhage from anger and was left bedridden, while my mother cried until she went blind. And I, on the day of his grand wedding with Vivian, was hit and killed on the street by an out-of-control truck. Before dying, I saw Sebastian carrying Vivian as they stepped out of the wedding car, his gaze fixed on me as if I were a bothersome piece of trash. The endless pain and regret still seemed to burn deep within my bones. But now, I lower my head, looking at my perfectly intact hands, pale and slender. I'm back. I've returned to the age of 22, the very day this nightmare began. Quinn? Vivian's hand gently rests on the back of mine, her voice filled with concern. What's really going on with you? Are you feeling unwell somewhere? Should I call a doctor for you? I raised my eyes, meeting her seemingly innocent and harmless gaze. These were the very hands that, after my death, had taken over everything I owned without a hint of guilt, living in my house, spending my family's money, and hypocritically telling my parents they would fulfill my filial duties on my behalf. Slowly, one by one, I pried her fingers open. Then, under the stunned gazes of everyone present, I smiled, a bright, unrestrained smile. That's right, I picked up the glass of red wine before me, gently swirling it as the crimson liquid traced beautiful arcs along the sides. I am feeling a bit unwell. I paused, sweeping my gaze across everyone at the table, my father, who wore an apologetic smile, Sebastian's critically eyeing mother, and the crowd of relatives waiting eagerly for a show. Finally, my gaze returned to Sebastian's cold, stern face. He frowned, clearly displeased with my unusual behavior. I stood up, my voice not loud but clearly reaching every corner of the private room. I may not be fit to occupy the position of Sebastian's wife. The moment the words fell, the entire room fell into a dead silence. My father's face instantly turned pale, and he hurriedly stood up to reprimand me. Quinn. What nonsense are you talking? Sit down at once. The corner of Sebastian's mother's mouth curled into a barely concealed sneer. Sebastian finally looked directly at me, the coldness in his eyes almost freezing me over. What game are you playing now? Game? I chuckled softly, holding my wine glass as I walked step by step to Vivian's side. Vivian's face turned pale as well, and she instinctively shrunk back, as if I were some kind of beast. Don't be afraid, Vivian. I leaned down and whispered into her ear, in a voice only the two of us could hear. Weren't you always desperate for this position in your past life? What, now that I'm giving it to you, you don't dare take it? Vivian's body suddenly stiffened, her pupils contracting sharply. I straightened up, no longer paying attention to the shock on her face. Instead, I turned to Sebastian, raised my wine glass, and said with a bright smile. Sebastian, I think Vivian is beautiful, kind-hearted, gentle, and considerate, far more suited to you than I am, a clueless block of wood who doesn't understand romance. So, I won't be going through with this engagement today. As for the position of your wife, I downed the red wine in my glass in one gulp, then flipped my wrist, letting the glass crash to the floor, shattering into pieces. Whoever wants it can have it. Quinn. Have you lost your mind? My father's roar erupted like a sudden clap of thunder, shattering the deathly silence of the private dining room. He was trembling with rage, his finger pointed straight at my nose, his lips quivering. Do you even know what you're saying? Apologize to Sebastian right this instant. Sebastian's mother, as if having just watched an entertaining show, dabbed the corner of her mouth leisurely with a napkin and spoke with mocking sarcasm. Is this the upbringing of your family? Making a drunken scene at the engagement banquet, truly an eye-opener for us. Sebastian remained silent, but his deep-set eyes, sharp as ice-cold daggers, were fixed on me with an unblinking intensity. If a look could kill, I had no doubt I would have been dismembered 1,000 times over by now. If it were me from my past life, I'd probably have been so scared that my legs would have gone weak by now, already crying and kneeling down to beg for his forgiveness. But now, my heart is nothing but a still pool of dead water. I even find it somewhat amusing. Looking at my father's face, which had turned as red as liver, I said calmly, Dad, I'm perfectly sober. This marriage was a mistake from the very beginning. Cutting our losses now is better for everyone. You unfilial daughter, my father cried out in a rage, raising his hand as if to strike me. I didn't dodge, just stared at him coldly. In the end, the slap never landed. Sebastian stood up, his tall figure bringing an overwhelming sense of pressure. He grabbed my father's wrist, his voice cold enough to chill to the bone. Teaching your daughter is your family matter. But today, it's me she insulted. He let go and walked toward me step by step. Standing at 188 centimeters tall, he almost completely enveloped me in his shadow. Quinn, he looked down at me, every word seemingly squeezed through clenched teeth. Take back what you just said, and I can pretend nothing ever happened. What if I don't? I met his gaze without a hint of fear. You'll regret it. Is that so? I smiled. Sebastian, are you overestimating yourself? Do you really think I'm still the same Quinn from before, the one who followed you around and couldn't survive without you? I leaned in closer, lowering my voice. Let me tell you, the thing I regret most is ever meeting you. And agreeing to this engagement was the most foolish decision I've ever made in my life. His pupils suddenly contracted. I could see the surging anger in his eyes and a barely perceptible flicker of surprise. He probably never imagined that Quinn, who always obeyed him and loved him with such self-abasement, would say such words. Very well. He smiled in extreme anger and nodded. Quinn, remember these words. From now on, don't expect to get even a single penny from my family, or from your own. And your company, his gaze turned to my father, cold and ruthless. Starting tomorrow, I will withdraw all cooperation. You should take care of yourselves. My father's face instantly lost all color. Sebastian. Sebastian, please let me explain. It's all a misunderstanding. This ungrateful daughter of mine. Sebastian gave him no further chance, turning and leaving. As he passed by Vivian, he paused briefly. She immediately understood, standing up weakly and casting a teary, reproachful glance at me, as if saying, "How could you be so unreasonable?" Then she hurried after him. A match made in heaven for that despicable couple. Sebastian's mother also stood up. Before leaving, she walked up to me, looked at me as if I were some kind of pest, and sneered disdainfully, "What an ungrateful thing. Let's see how long you can keep strutting around without our support." Soon, Sebastian's people had all cleared out. In the private room, only the mess left by my family remained. Smack. A sharp slap finally landed across my face. My father's eyes were bloodshot as he pointed at me, too furious to speak coherently. You ungrateful child. You've ruined it. You've destroyed our entire family." My mother also rushed over, holding me and wailing in despair, "Quinn, what on earth has happened to you? Go apologize to Sebastian right now, go." The relatives stood to the side, pointing and whispering among themselves. "It's over, it's all over now. To think of leaving such a comfortable life as a wealthy lady, she really must have her head screwed on wrong. We should definitely stay away from their family in the future, to avoid getting dragged into trouble." Covering my burning cheek, I listened to these clamoring voices, feeling nothing but bitter irony. This was my family. In my previous life, they were the same. After Sebastian humiliated me, instead of asking for the truth, they only blamed me, insisting that I apologize and endure. Because in their eyes, the interests of the family are far more important than my dignity and happiness. I didn't cry, nor did I offer any further explanations. I just looked at them calmly and said word by word, "From today onward, I won't be returning to this home. As for the bride price Sebastian gave, you can return it if you wish, or keep it for yourselves if you don't. From now on, I sever all ties with you." After finishing, I didn't look at any of them again. I turned around and walked out of that suffocating private room without ever looking back. Stepping outside the main entrance of the hotel, the cold wind hit me, and only then did I feel truly alive again. My face was still burning, but my heart was filled with a chilling clarity. Sebastian, Vivian, and my so-called family. What you owe me from my past life, I'll make you repay double in this one. I pulled out my phone, flipped to a long dusty number, and dialed it. The phone rang for a long time before it was picked up. A lazy, slightly hoarse woman's voice came through. "Hello? Who is it? Don't you know I'm sleeping?" I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "Gianna, it's me, Quinn." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, followed by an exclamation of surprise. "What the hell? Miss Quinn? You're actually calling me? Has the sun risen from the west? Come on, tell me, is that bastard of yours bullying you again, and you need your bestie to go waste him for you?" Gianna, my close friend from university, is also famously known as the Little Enchantress in City A. Her family runs an entertainment company, so she's resourceful and well-connected. After graduation, because Sebastian didn't like her, I gradually drifted apart from her. In my previous life, after I died, she disregarded Sebastian's pressure, took care of my remains, and did everything in her power to seek justice for me. Gianna, my voice choked up a little, I have nowhere to go. Can I stay at your place for a few days? Send me the address. I'm firing up the rocket to come get you. After hanging up, I looked at my own reflection on the phone screen and slowly, a cold smile crept onto my face. Half an hour later, a flamboyant red Ferrari sports car skidded to a perfect stop right in front of me with an outrageously flashy drift. The door swung upward, and Gianna stepped out from the driver's seat. She was wearing a black slip-on leather skirt today, paired with a denim jacket over it. Her long hair was dyed a striking flaxen gray, and her makeup was bright, with lips as red as fire. The whole person looked like a walking flame. My lady, she took off her sunglasses, sizing me up and down, her gaze finally settling on my swollen cheek, her eyes instantly turning cold. Who hit you? My dad, I answered nonchalantly. Gianna was stunned for a moment, then her delicate eyebrows furrowed sharply. What right does he have to hit you? Just because of that jerk Sebastian? Sebastian and I broke up. What? Gianna's eyes instantly widened, and then she burst into a fit of wild joy. Seriously? You finally realized? Holy shit. Girl, you should have done this a long time ago. Come on, get in the car. We're popping champagne to celebrate today, no excuses. Without another word, she shoved me into the passenger seat and hopped in herself. The sports car let out a roar and sped away. Deafening heavy metal music blared in the car as Gianna drove, eagerly asking me what had actually happened. I gave her a concise account of what happened at the engagement banquet. Of course, I didn't mention a word about being reborn. Well done! Gianna exclaimed after listening, slapping the steering wheel hard. I've had enough of that despicable pair. One's a hypocrite, the other's a master manipulator, a perfect match. They deserve to be stuck together, so they don't ruin anyone else's life. She turned to look at me. What about your dad? With Sebastian pulling his investment, your dad's company must be struggling, right? That's the price he deserves to pay. I watched the rapidly passing scenery outside the window, my tone calm. To curry favor with Sebastian, he didn't hesitate to sacrifice his own daughter's happiness. Now, he's getting exactly what he wished for. In my past life, I cared too much about the family's interests, too much about my parents, which led them to treat me as a bargaining chip, compromising time and again, yielding over and over. In this life, I won't do that anymore. I will make them understand that without them, I, Quinn, can still live. And I'll live better than anyone else. Well said. Gianna nodded in agreement. So what do you plan to do next? Are you really going to cut ties with your family? Yes, I am. Great. You've got guts. Gianna gave me a thumbs up. If you've got nowhere to go, stay at my place, I'll take care of you. That big apartment of mine is just sitting empty anyway. But... She paused, turning her tone with a hint of concern as she looked at me. As for your parents, this stalemate can't keep going forever. And Sebastian, that man holds grudges, I'm worried he might try to undermine you behind your back. I know, I nodded. That's why I need to become independent as soon as possible, strong enough that he won't dare to cross me lightly. Need my help? Just say the word. No need for now. I shook my head. Gianna, there are some paths I want to walk on my own. I want to rely on my own strength to reclaim everything that belongs to me. More importantly, I want to personally drag Sebastian down from that high and mighty pedestal. Gianna looked at me for a few seconds, then smiled. All right, that's my sister. But if anything happens, you must speak up. Don't try to carry it all on your own. The car quickly arrived at a high-end apartment Gianna owned in the city center. The elevator went straight to the top floor, and upon opening the door, a spacious, nearly 300-square-meter apartment came into view, decorated in a minimalist industrial style. Through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, the dazzling night view of the entire city unfolded. Feel free to stay, you can choose either the master bedroom or the guest room. Gianna handed me a new pair of slippers from the shoe cabinet, then took a bottle of ice water from the fridge and passed it to me. Use this to cool your face first, it's swollen like a pig's head. I took the ice water and pressed it against my face. The cool touch eased the burning pain a bit. Oh, right, Gianna said, as if remembering something. She pulled her phone out of her bag and held it out to me. Look, no sooner had you made a scene than the trending searches were already arranged for you. I leaned over to take a look. On the phone screen, there was a new trending list, plain as day. The Sebastian and Quinn marriage alliance falls through. Quinn heiress causes a scene at the engagement banquet. Suspicion that Sebastian's heir has affections for actress Vivian. Upon clicking in, all kinds of marketing accounts have already spun more than a dozen versions of the tale of love and hatred, accompanied by pictures taken secretly at tonight's engagement banquet. There was me throwing a cup, Sebastian leaving with a cold expression, and Vivian following him in tears, looking utterly heartbroken. The comment section erupted even more. I always thought Quinn was no match for Sebastian. She acted like a bullied little wife all day, without any of the poise a wealthy heiress should have. Vivian is much prettier than her, and talented too. She's the latest film queen. Hilarious, this is the white moonlight forcing a showdown, and the official wife stepping down, right? Well done. Sebastian and Vivian are truly a match made in heaven. The public opinion was almost unanimously criticizing me while praising Vivian. There's no need to guess, it's clear that Sebastian and Vivian's team was behind this. They want to pin me to the pillar of shame to pave the way for their true love. In my past life, seeing these comments infuriated me so much that I didn't sleep for 3 days and almost fell into depression. But now, looking at these words, my heart remains completely unfazed. Are you angry? Gianna asked cautiously. Not angry. I shook my head. It's just a clown putting on a show. What are you planning to do? Do you want me to find someone to take down the trending hashtag? No need. I picked up my phone and logged into that account I almost never use. My Weibo username, still registered during my university days, is Quinn Loves Candy. I have only a few hundred followers, mostly inactive accounts. I found the marketing account that had criticized me the most harshly and directly replied under it using my main account, Wait for Me. After posting, I tossed my phone aside and said to Gianna, can I borrow your computer? What are you going to do? Making money. I sat in front of the computer and opened a professional stock trading software. In my past life, in order to help Sebastian, I self-studied finance, obtained various certifications, and had a bit of talent in investing. It's just a shame that all my hard work ended up being used to build up Sebastian Group. And now, this knowledge will become the first weapon in my revenge. Skillfully entering the codes, I pulled up the K-line charts for several stocks. With the memories from my past life, I clearly remember that tomorrow, a little-known small tech company called fiancé Technology will see its stock price surge 20-fold within a week, thanks to a groundbreaking technology patent. And before this surge, this company was evaluated by Sebastian's investment department as having no potential, leading them to abandon the acquisition. In my past life, I was scolded by Sebastian's mother for half an hour as a fool because of this incident. But in this life, I gaze at the mere 200,000 yuan left in my private account, my eyes growing sharp and determined. Sebastian, what you don't want, I'm taking. Not only will I take it, but I'll also use it as the first brick to tear down your business empire. Early the next morning, I was awakened by the glaring sunlight. The headache from the hangover and the swelling on my face mixed together, making me momentarily confused and thinking I was still trapped in the nightmare of my past life. It wasn't until I saw the unfamiliar ceiling and the note on the bedside table left by Gianna, girl, off to the office to handle some annoying stuff. Breakfast's on the table, remember to apply ointment to that wound on your face. Love, Gianna. Her handwriting was as wild and flamboyant as she is, bold and passionate. I smiled, feeling a rush of warmth in my heart. After a quick wash-up, I sat at the dining table, opened my laptop while eating a sandwich. The stock market opens at 9:30. I still had time for final preparations. I split the 200,000 yuan into 2 accounts. In one, I went all in on fiancé Technology. The other was used to short a pharmaceutical stock on the Hong Kong stock market. I remember clearly that at 2 o'clock this afternoon, this pharmaceutical stock, highly praised by countless stock analysts, would be exposed for a shocking scandal due to falsified clinical trial data. Its stock price would instantly plummet by half, leaving countless people with nothing. After finishing all this, I closed my laptop and didn't look at it again. Because I knew the outcome was already set. I didn't leave the house for the rest of the day. Gianna brought me several sets of new clothes and daily necessities, along with a first aid kit. I had my assistant buy these, all imported. They're the best for reducing swelling and bruising, she said while applying the medicine, chattering away. That face of yours is your capital, you can't let it scar. Thank you, Gianna. No need to be so polite with me, Gianna rolled her eyes. Oh, by the way, your dad called over a dozen times. I figured you'd find it annoying, so I hung up on all of them. If it's over, then it's over. I shrugged indifferently. Right now, he's looking for me, no doubt wanting me to go apologize to Sebastian and salvage the collaboration. But I won't go. And Sebastian, Gianna's expression turned a bit odd, he called you too. Him? That genuinely surprised me. What does he want? To yell at me? I don't know. Gianna shook her head. I answered, but he didn't say a word, listened for a while, and then just hung up. So weird. I smirked inwardly. With Sebastian's arrogant personality, he probably wanted to reprimand me, but upon hearing Gianna's voice, he couldn't bring himself to do it and hung up. It doesn't matter anyway. From now on, we won't have any more connections. At 3 p.m., the stock market closed. I took a deep breath and reopened the trading software. Just as I expected. That pharmaceutical stock plummeted right on schedule at 2:05 p.m., and by the time the market closed, its share price had dropped by 70%. The short-selling account I had set up, with a principal of 200,000, tripled in value, turning into 600,000. And then there was the other account. After a day of silence, the share price of Windrise Technology suddenly began to soar in the last half hour before the market closed. In the end, it closed at the daily limit up. My 200,000 turned into 240,000. It wasn't much, but this was just the beginning. Gianna leaned over to take a look and let out an exclamation, "Holy crap. Quinn, when did you become a stock market god? You made over 600,000 in just one day?" It was just a matter of luck. I closed the software, but my mood wasn't as excited as I had imagined. To me, this bit of money was nothing more than a drop in the bucket. My target was the entire Titan Ridge group. For the next few days, I barely left my house, spending every day glued to my computer. The stock price of Windrise Technology soared like a rocket, hitting the daily limit right at the opening bell each day, leaving no chance for anyone else to get on board. And I used the money I made from short selling to continue buying and selling stocks quickly. Relying on my memories from my past life, I accurately caught every fluctuation. A week later, when I sold off all my stocks, the funds in my account had already grown from the initial 200,000 to an astonishing 12 million. Among them, the stock Fiancé Technology alone brought me nearly 5 million in profits. This is insane, absolutely insane. Gianna stared at the long string of zeros in my account balance, completely numb. Quinn, be honest with me, do you have any insider information? I suppose you could say so. I smiled, transferring all the funds to my main card. With this money, I could start implementing the second step of my plan. Gianna, do you know any reliable investment firms? Of course, Gianna thought for a moment and said, I actually have an investment department under me, though it's mostly small scale. If you're looking to play big, I know a well-known fund manager in the industry named Miles. But he's quite temperamental and isn't easy for just anyone to hire. Miles? My eyes lit up upon hearing that name. It's the perfect find after searching far and wide, an unexpected stroke of luck. This Miles, in the previous life, was a top trader hired by Sebastian at a high cost. Relying on his own ability, he helped Sebastian complete several classic capital operations in just 3 years, establishing Sebastian's unshakable dominant position in City A. However, later on, due to a difference in principles, he had a falling out with Sebastian and went abroad. I remember that the time he left Titan Ridge Group should be next month. And right now, he should still be stuck in an obscure small investment company, his talents unrecognized. Gianna, help me arrange a meeting with him. I looked at Gianna, my gaze firm. I want to ask him to work for me. Invite him? Gianna hesitated slightly. Quinn, I don't mean to discourage you, but that guy has his head in the clouds. With the money you have now, he probably won't even give it a second look. Whether he looks down on it or not, we won't know until we try. Not only do I want to invite him, but I also intend to intercept Sebastian and make him mine. Everything Sebastian has his eyes on, everything he desires, I plan to take it all. I want him to taste the bitterness of losing everything, too. Gianna has always been highly efficient. The very next afternoon, I met the legendary Miles in a quiet cafe. He appeared to be in his early 30s, wearing a faded plaid shirt and a pair of black-framed glasses, with slightly disheveled hair. He looked more like an unkempt programmer than a commanding stock trader. Ms. Quinn, he nodded in greeting and got straight to the point. You want me to manage your funds for you? Not manage, I shook my head as I poured him a cup of coffee. It's collaboration. Oh? He raised an eyebrow, seeming a bit intrigued. What kind of collaboration? I want to set up an investment studio. I'll provide the funding, and you'll be the chief partner. I'll be in charge of giving direction, and you'll handle the specific operations. As for profits, we'll split them 70/30, 70 for you, 30 for me. Miles was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. Miss Quinn, with all due respect, the amount of capital you have isn't enough to even start a studio. 12 million, it's not much indeed, I admitted frankly. But this is just the startup capital. Believe me, it won't be long before several more zeros are added to that number. He looked at me, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. What makes you so confident? Just buy this. I took a document from my bag and pushed it in front of him. That was something I spent a day and a night writing from memory, an analysis report on the global economic situation over the next 6 months and several key investment opportunities. It detailed several industries about to take off and several companies with immense potential, including Windrise Technology. Miles started off somewhat indifferent, but when he saw the name Windrise Technology, his expression noticeably changed. He read faster and faster, his expression growing more and more serious. When he flipped to the last page, he looked up at me with a gaze as if staring at a monster. This report, was it written by you? Yes. You built up fiancé Technology? It was me. He fell silent. After a long while, he took a deep breath and slowly said, Why should I believe that everything you've written will come true? You don't need to believe, I said, looking him straight in the eye, word by word. You just need to choose, whether to keep wasting your talent in your half-dead company, or follow me and take a gamble. If you lose the bet, you'll just end up back where you started. If you win, I smiled faintly, you'll have a capital empire of your own. His Adam's apple bobbed. I knew he was tempted. No trader could resist such a tempting vision. And besides, the vision I was painting was one that could actually come true. I need some time to think about it. He closed the document and stood up. All right. I nodded. Give me your answer tomorrow. I believe he will make the right choice. Because no one understands better than I do how much he longs for a stage where he can fully unleash his talents. And Sebastian cannot offer him that. Because Sebastian's need for control is too strong. What he wants is an obedient executor, not a partner with ideas of their own. That is where I can outshine him. After finishing the conversation, I had just stepped out of the cafe when I spotted a familiar black Bentley parked by the roadside. The window slowly rolled down, revealing Sebastian's icy face. He truly was relentless. Pretending not to see him, I walked straight ahead. Stop, a cold voice came from behind. I didn't pause my steps. The next moment, the car door opened, and with long strides, Sebastian stepped out and blocked my path. Quinn, you've grown bold now, daring to ignore me? He grabbed my wrist, his grip so tight it felt like he was about to crush my bones. Sebastian, I shook off his hand, rubbing my sore wrist, my tone distant. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. What right do you have to order me around? No big deal, he sneered, as if he'd just heard the biggest joke. Quinn, don't forget who lifted you from a mediocre little family to the position you hold today. Without me, you are nothing. Really? I looked up, meeting his eyes directly. Then I'll show you just how far I can go without you. His eyes darkened. Do you think that with just a bit of cleverness and some money earned in the stock market, you can stand against me? How naive. He knew about my earnings. Of course, with his abilities, digging up something like this was as easy as flipping a hand. Let's wait and see if that's possible. I didn't want to waste any more words on him, so I turned to leave. You met with Miles? He blocked my path once again. My heart sank abruptly. How did he know? Has he been having me followed all this time? Sebastian, you're really despicable. I was just curious. He took a step closer, trapping me between him and the wall, a hint of an unreadable complexity in his eyes. When did Quinn, that timid and obedient person, who used to follow me around like a little lapdog, become so sharp-tongued and so cunning? His breath hit my face, carrying the familiar scent of cedarwood cologne. In my past life, I was obsessed with this scent, crazy for it. But now, it just makes me sick. Perhaps I raised my hand and pressed it against his chest, pushing him back a little. I was never the person you imagined me to be. It's just that you were blind, in both your eyes and your heart. With that, I gave him no further chance to speak. I sidestepped him and walked away quickly. Behind me, Sebastian's gaze was as palpable as a physical weight, fixed firmly on my back. I could sense that he was completely enraged by me. Good. This is just the beginning. Sebastian, there's still so much between us to settle. Upon returning to Gianna's apartment, my first action was to check whether any listening devices or hidden cameras had been installed in the room. In the end, there was nothing. It seems Sebastian only tracked my whereabouts and didn't stoop to such low tactics. However, this also served as a reminder to me. My every move might be under his surveillance now. I urgently need to have a place of my own, absolutely secure. In the evening, when Gianna came back and saw the grave expression on my face, she asked with concern what was wrong. I told her about my encounter with Sebastian. Damn it. That dog of a man, he's actually stalking you. Gianna slammed the table angrily. No way, I'm going to have someone slash his tires tomorrow. Don't be impulsive. I held her back. Now is not the time to confront him head-on. What should we do then? Just let him act so arrogantly? Don't worry, I have my own plan. I smiled, a glint of cold light flashing in my eyes. Sebastian, since you enjoy playing games of surveillance, I'll make sure to keep you entertained. The next day, Miles called. Quinn, I agree to your terms. His voice carried a hint of barely suppressed excitement. When does the studio begin? The sooner, the better. Great. I've got a few reliable buddies under my wing, all with top-notch skills. We can start looking for office space tomorrow. No need to look. I said, I've already found one. I sent him an address. It was a small office building I rented in the suburbs with the money I had earned. The security system had been specially reinforced by experts I hired, ensuring complete privacy. With Miles sorted out, I was in a great mood and decided to go out for a stroll. I needed a change of image for myself. In my past life, to cater to Sebastian's preferences, I always wore simple, elegant long dresses and kept my long, straight hair docile, never daring to wear heavy makeup. I lived like a soulless puppet. In this life, I will live for myself. I walked into the most upscale shopping mall in a city and headed straight for the luxury section. I cut off my waist-length long hair, opting for a neat shoulder-length bob, and dyed it a bold wine red. I tossed away those dull dresses and changed into a well-tailored suit and sexy high heels. When I saw that brand new version of myself in the mirror, wearing a bold red lip, I almost didn't recognize her. The woman in the mirror had confident eyes and an undeniable presence, with none of the previous timidity or lowliness. This was how I, Quinn, was truly meant to be. In high spirits, I swiped my card to pay, picked up my shopping bags, and headed for the parking lot to get my car. However, as soon as I reached the elevator, I ran into the last person I wanted to see. Vivian. Today, she was once again dressed in a white gown, accompanied by assistants and bodyguards, making quite the grand entrance. When she saw me, she paused for a moment before adopting a perfectly feigned expression of surprise. Quinn? Is it really you? I almost didn't recognize you. She walked toward me gracefully, her heels clicking with each step. You've changed, so much. Her eyes swept over me, a flicker of envy flashing in her gaze before it was quickly concealed. Is that so? I curved my lips into a smile. People always change. You can't spend your whole life living in someone else's shadow. My words were loaded with insinuation. Vivian's face stiffened slightly. Quinn, I know you're still angry with me and Sebastian. She lowered her head, putting on a pitiful act. What happened that night? I'm really sorry. I didn't expect you to get so worked up. Sebastian and I are really just friends. Friends. Friends who sit next to someone else's fiancé, whispering intimately right in front of his actual fiancé? Friends who call someone else's fiancé in the middle of the night, crying about insomnia? The tactics of this green tea bitch are truly as consistent as ever, remaining unchanged for decades. Friends? I feigned surprise and raised an eyebrow. Oh, so it's friends. I thought you two had already sneaked behind my back. After all, that night, I saw how nervous Sebastian was about you, much more concerned than he was about me, his fiancé. You're talking nonsense. Vivian's face instantly flushed red as she hurriedly defended herself. Sebastian and I are innocent. Whether you're innocent or not, you know the truth deep down. I had no interest in keeping up the act and picked up my shopping bag, ready to leave. Quinn, stop, she suddenly called out to me. I turned around and saw her biting her lip, tears welling up in her eyes, looking as if she had suffered a great injustice. I know you hate me. You think I stole Sebastian. But feelings can't be forced. Sebastian, he never loved you. Even if you bind him with marriage, you won't win his heart. Please, let him go, and let yourself go too, okay? These words were spoken with genuine emotion, deeply moving. Anyone who didn't know better might think she was some kind of great martyr sacrificing herself for love. I looked at her and suddenly laughed. I walked over to her, leaned close to her ear, and spoke in a voice only the two of us could hear, enunciating each word clearly. Do you really think you've already won? I'm telling you, Sebastian, this man, I don't want him anymore. Even the position of his wife is too dirty for my liking. If you want him, take him. I wish the two of you, a bitch and a dog, a long and happy life together. After saying that, I didn't spare another glance at her face, which had instantly turned deathly pale. I turned on my heel and walked away, my high heels clicking confidently with each step. Playing the innocent with me? In my past life, I might not have been a match for you. But in this life, I'll make sure you cry to the beat. Quinn, you're literally my god. Gianna, looking at my completely transformed self, excitedly spun me around in several circles. So damn handsome. This is the Quinn I know. That timid, shrinking version from before was such a black mark. I got dizzy from all the spinning and pushed her away, both laughing and crying. Alright, if you spin me any more I'm going to throw up. Seriously, she pinched my cheek, you should have done this a long time ago. Sebastian must be blind, letting go of a treasure like you and instead picking up that fisheye Vivian. I smiled without saying a word. He would find out sooner or later whether I was truly a treasure or not. The next day, Miles and I officially signed the contract, marking the establishment of Blackthorn Capital Studio. As a newly founded studio, our team consisted of only 5 people, myself, Miles, and 3 traders he had brought along. Though the office was located in a remote area, it was small yet fully equipped. I injected the remaining $10 million I had into the studio's public account as the initial startup capital. Boss, Miles adjusted his glasses and looked at me. What will be our main direction going forward? Virtual reality VR, I said without hesitation. In my previous life, starting from the second half of this year, VR technology experienced explosive growth. Countless investments flooded in, creating one wealth myth after another. And Sebastian, precisely by seizing this opportunity, managed to surpass all the established companies in a city and became the undisputed industry leader. In this life, I will get ahead of him and take the biggest piece of the cake for myself. VR? Miles paused for a moment. This concept may be trending, but the technology isn't yet mature, and the market prospects remain uncertain. Jumping in now would carry significant risks. Risk and reward are always directly proportional, I replied, looking at him with unwavering determination. You don't need to worry about anything else. Just help me identify all the promising startups in this field and compile their information for me. All right, Miles nodded, still harboring doubts. This is why I chose him. He is capable, ambitious, and most importantly, he knows how to respect my decisions. Over the next half-month, Miles's team and I were practically working around the clock. During the day, we sifted through countless project proposals and financial statements to identify potential targets. At night, I relied on my memories to analyze the successes and failures from my previous life, providing a foundation for our investment decisions. Finally, after reviewing no fewer than 100 companies, I found my target, a small company named Illusion. The founder of this company, named Leo, is a tech enthusiast with an almost obsessive passion for VR technology. His team has already developed a prototype of VR glasses that leads all products on the market, but the project has been stalled due to a lack of funding. In the previous life, Sebastian acquired a 70% stake in Phantasm for a mere $5 million, then invested heavily in research and development, ultimately launching that groundbreaking product that took the market by storm. Leo himself also became Sebastian's most capable technical expert. And in this life, I'm going to recruit him, along with his company. I asked Miles to set up a meeting with Leo. However, the news he brought back made me frown. Boss, Sebastian's people have already reached out to Leo ahead of us. What? My heart tightened suddenly. How far have they gotten? I heard Sebastian personally offered him $8 million as an acquisition price, and Leo seems to have been tempted. Sebastian. Could he have been reborn too? No, impossible. If he were also reborn, he wouldn't have been so indifferent to my previous actions. Then, there's only one possibility. In this lifetime, because of my interference, some butterfly effects occurred, causing him to notice the company Illusion earlier than before. No, I made an immediate decision, we cannot let him succeed. But, boss, with the funds we have, there's simply no way we can compete against Sebastian. Miles' expression was one of difficulty. Who said we're competing with him on price? I sneered. Dealing with someone like Leo, a tech geek, money isn't the only bargaining chip. I'll go meet him myself. I understand Leo better than Sebastian does. I know his dreams, and I also know his weaknesses. What Sebastian can offer him is money. What I can offer him is a kingdom where he can freely unleash his talents, unbound by any constraints. I believe he will know how to choose. Sebastian, you want to play with me? Let's see whose methods are more clever. In a coffee shop filled with a geeky style, I met Leo. He was even younger than I had imagined, looking only about 25 or 26 years old. He wore a t-shirt printed with code, his hair was messy, and he had on a pair of thick glasses, giving off a socially awkward and shy vibe. Miss Quinn? When he saw me, he seemed a bit nervous, stammering as he spoke. Hello, Mr. Leo. I smiled and extended my hand. He quickly wiped his hands on his pants before cautiously shaking mine. Please, have a seat. No need to be nervous. After sitting down, I didn't rush into discussing the collaboration. Instead, I talked with him about the history of VR technology, from its earliest theoretical concepts to the latest technical challenges. Everything I said was content I had seen in various professional forums and Leo's own interviews in my previous life. Sure enough, once we started talking about his area of expertise, Leo relaxed completely, and his eyes began to light up. He kept talking to me about his philosophy, his vision, and how amazing his technology was. I listened quietly, nodding from time to time and asking one or two professional questions. The look in his eyes gradually changed from initial restraint to surprise, and finally, to the delight of meeting someone who truly understood. "Quinn, you understand technology too?" "Just a little," I smiled. "I'm very interested in you and your team." "I know, Mr. Miles told me everything." He scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed. "Actually, Sebastian from the Titan Ridge Group has also approached me." "I know." I nodded. "He offered you $8 million for 70% of the shares, right?" He was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. "That price shows great sincerity." "It's really good," he admitted candidly. "With this money, my lab can keep running, and my brothers can finally get the pay they deserve." "But," I shifted the tone, "what Sebastian gave you is just money. They acquired your company for your technology. They'll split you and your team apart, restructure you, and integrate you into their massive corporate system, making you work for their products. Your dreamland will cease to exist. You, Leo, will go from being a founder to a high-level employee. Every research direction you pursue will have to be approved by the board. Every idea you have could be dismissed for not aligning with market expectations. Is this what you wanted?" Each of my words felt like a hammer, striking heavily against his heart. His face gradually paled. His lips moved, but not a single word came out. Because he knew that everything I said was the truth. "But what I can offer you is different." I looked into his eyes, my voice firm and resolute. "I will give you $10 million to acquire just 49% of your shares. You will still be the largest shareholder of Illusion, retaining absolute controlling interest and decision-making power. I will not interfere with any of your research and development directions. I will only provide you with funding, market access, and all the resources you need." "I have only one demand," I said, holding up a finger. "Within a year, I want to see your product completely disrupt the entire industry." Leo was completely stunned. He looked at me as if I were a lunatic. "Is there any investor out there that generous, offering money, resources, and not even asking for control?" Why would you do this?" he asked, his voice strained. "Because," I said calmly, looking out the window, "I believe in your talent and your abilities. What Sebastian can offer you is stability. What I can offer you is a dream. The choice is yours." After speaking, I stood up and placed a drafted contract on the table. "Think it over and call me anytime you're ready." Without saying another word, I turned and walked away. I knew I had won this battle. Titan Ridge Group, President's Office. Sebastian irritably loosened his tie and slammed a document onto the desk. "What did you say?" "Leo turned it down?" The assistant standing across from him answered nervously, "Why yes. He said he's already found a new investor." "Who?" It's a new company called Blackthorn Capital. Blackthorn Capital? Sebastian furrowed his brows, he had never heard of this name before. "The founder of this company is Miss Quinn." Bang! A crystal ashtray on the desk was swept to the floor by Sebastian, shattering into pieces. "Quinn," he uttered the name through gritted teeth, the rage in his chest threatening to ignite him entirely. Her again. What on earth was this woman trying to do? First, she humiliated him at the engagement banquet, then stirred up trouble in the stock market, and now, she actually dared to snatch the project he had his eye on. Where did she get the nerve? Where did she get the money? And then there was that Miles, he was already planning to poach him next month, but she beat him to it. In just half a month, he felt like everything was starting to go wrong for him. And all of this seemed to be inextricably linked to the woman named Quinn. An unprecedented feeling of losing control, like an invisible net, had him firmly trapped. For the first time, he realized that the woman he had never taken seriously seemed to be gradually slipping out of his control, turning into a terrifying opponent he didn't recognize at all. "Investigate," he roared at his assistant, his eyes bloodshot. Dig into every move Quinn has made in the past half-month, every source of her funds. I want to see what she's really up to. He began to panic. For the first time, he felt flustered because of a woman. Boss, Sebastian is starting to fight back. In the studio, Miles looked quite serious. They've used their connections to pressure our suppliers. Several raw material factories have unilaterally terminated their contracts with Illusion. Not only that, but they've also started spreading rumors in the market, claiming that our VR technology has security risks. This has scared off quite a few potential investors. I gazed at the continuously falling virtual stock price on the computer screen, my expression calm. All of this was within my expectations. Given Sebastian's temperament, after suffering such a heavy blow, it was only natural for him to retaliate. How is Leo doing? He's practically going insane, said Miles. Without the raw materials, our prototype production line is about to shut down. Without follow-up funding, relying on the little money we have won't last long. Keep him calm, tell him everything is under my control. But, boss. When soldiers approach, we deploy troops to block them, when floods come, we use soil to dam them. I shut down the computer and stood up. If he wants to play business warfare, I'll see it through with him. Doesn't he enjoy cutting off our supply chain? Then we'll just build our own. Miles, help me get in touch with the owner of Hongguang Electronics Factory in the southern part of the city. I want to acquire them. Hongguang? Miles was taken aback. Isn't that factory on the verge of closing down? What do we want with acquiring it? Because it has the most essential thing we need, a complete optical lens production line, I explained. The core component of VR glasses is the lens. As long as we master the core technology, we won't have to worry about others holding us back. However, acquiring it would require at least 50 million. Our account doesn't have much left. I'll figure out a way to handle the money issue. Leaving the studio, I drove straight to Gianna's company. Gianna, lend me 50 million. I came straight to the point. 50 million? Gianna was applying a face mask and nearly jumped off the couch upon hearing the number. My dear, what do you need so much money for? Are you planning to rob a bank? I explained the situation to her. It's that bastard Sebastian again. Gianna angrily ripped off her face mask. All right. I'll lend you the money. Not only that, but I'll also increase the investment. It's just 50 million, right? I'll add another 50 million to make it a total of 100 million. I refuse to believe I can't crush him with money. Gianna, thank you. What are you thanking me for? We're sisters, she waved her hand grandly, let's go, head to the bank to transfer the money now. With Gianna's 100 million, my confidence soared instantly. The acquisition of Hongguang Electronics Factory proceeded with exceptional smoothness. When I presented the brand new production line and sufficient funds before Leo, he was so moved he almost knelt down to me. Boss. You're my savior. Alright, enough with the flattery. I patted his shoulder. Just focus on getting the product ready. That's the best way to repay me. Resolving the supply chain issue meant I had successfully countered Sebastian's first wave of attacks. But I knew he wouldn't give up so easily. Sure enough, within a few days, new troubles arose. Vivian, the newly crowned Best Actress, suddenly dropped a bombshell during an interview. She claimed that she had a friend who was in a great relationship with her fiancé, but a scheming woman intervened, not only stealing the fiancé but also using underhanded means to undermine her friend's company. Tearfully, she expressed her hope that this scheming woman would wake up and stop causing harm. Her words instantly sparked a massive uproar online. Although she didn't mention any names, everyone knew that the friend she was referring to was herself, and the scheming woman was, of course, me, Quinn. Quinn is the mistress. Quinn engages in unfair competition. Feel sorry for Vivian. Several trending topics quickly took over the hot search list. My social media accounts were instantly overrun by angry netizens and Vivian's fans, with all sorts of vulgar and obscene comments flooding in. The studio's phone was also ringing off the hook, with everyone calling just to berate me. That bitch. How shameless. Gianna fumed, pacing back and forth in the office. She's the homewrecker, yet she dares to play the victim. No way, I have to expose her dirty secrets. Don't rush, I held her back, my gaze icy cold. If she wants to play the public opinion game, I'll play along. Since she loves playing the victim, I'll make sure she gets exactly what she's asking for, solid proof. I opened my computer and logged into an encrypted email account. Inside, there was an earth-shattering secret about Vivian that I had accidentally discovered in my previous life. It was a video. In the video, Vivian was in a hotel room with a middle-aged man who had a smug, well-fed appearance. Their behavior was intimate, and their words were explicit. That man was a very famous director in the industry, notorious for exploiting actresses in exchange for roles. And the fact that Vivian landed her first leading role was all thanks to this director. I anonymously sent the video to a few entertainment bloggers known for breaking sensational news. Then, I quietly waited for the drama to unfold. That evening, while Vivian's fans were still cheering for her and fiercely condemning me as the homewrecker, a 10-minute high-definition video ignited the entire internet. Its content was provocative, explosive, and enough to shatter the worldview of anyone who watched it. The heroine in the video was none other than Vivian, who appeared as pure as a white lotus in front of the camera. In an instant, the entire internet was in an uproar. The fans who had been speaking up for her just moments ago were now stunned speechless. Public opinion, with a devastating force, instantly reversed. Vivian video. Vivian's hidden rules. Vivian's image collapse. Several topics marked with the word explosive firmly pushed the previous hot searches to the bottom. Vivian's account was overrun. Her team worked tirelessly to delete posts, but they simply couldn't stop the video from spreading like a virus. I knew it then, Vivian was finished. And what I was even more curious about was, when Sebastian saw that video of his pristine, beloved white moonlight writhing beneath another man, what kind of incredible expression would he have? Sebastian saw that video during an important international meeting. When his assistant handed him the phone, showing him the indecent footage on the screen, he froze completely. The color visibly drained from his face, leaving it pale as a sheet. He stared intently at the woman on the screen, the one he had loved and protected for years, his eyes filled with disbelief. How could it be? It's impossible. Vivian is so innocent, so wonderful. How could she do such a thing? Someone must be setting her up. It's Quinn. It must be that bitch Quinn again. An overwhelming surge of rage and humiliation instantly swept through his entire body. He violently slammed his phone onto the floor, shattering the screen instantly. In the meeting room, all the foreign executives stared at him in shock. Meeting adjourned. Then, he dashed out of the meeting room without looking back. He was going to find Vivian and ask her face-to-face what exactly was going on. At this moment, Vivian had already broken down. She locked herself in her apartment, smashing everything within reach that could be broken. Her agent's calls, the company's calls, they kept coming one after another, but she didn't dare answer any of them. Her acting career, the innocent persona she had painstakingly built up over so many years, was completely destroyed overnight. Ding dong, the doorbell rang. Thinking it was reporters, she curled up on the sofa, frozen with fear, not daring to move an inch. Vivian. Open the door. It's me. It was Sebastian's voice. Like grabbing onto the last lifeline, she scrambled over, stumbling to the door and flung it open. Sebastian. She threw herself into Sebastian's arms, wailing, "You have to believe me. The video is fake. Someone is trying to frame me. It's Quinn. It must be Quinn, that bitch." Sebastian held her cold body, watching her tear-stained face, the last trace of doubt in his heart vanishing completely. Yes, Vivian is so kind-hearted, she must have been framed. And the mastermind behind all of this is Quinn. Don't worry, he patted her back, his voice tinged with a hint of ruthlessness, "I will definitely help you get revenge for this." After comforting Vivian, Sebastian immediately used all his connections to start a full-scale online blackout of that video. At the same time, he also instructed the public relations team to start whitewashing Vivian's image, dumping all the dirt onto me. They claimed that I, out of jealousy, maliciously photoshopped images, fabricated videos, and sought to severely damage Vivian's reputation. There's no denying Sebastian's remarkable capabilities. In just a few hours, the online discourse has once again shifted in a subtle manner. Rational-minded netizens began to raise the point that the authenticity of the video still needs verification. Vivian's die-hard fans also started to regroup, spreading their commentary control everywhere, insisting that people should believe in their idol. However, they all underestimated me. Since I dared to release the first video, I naturally had a backup plan. Just when Sebastian's public relations team thought they were about to take control of the situation, I dropped the second bombshell. I released the complete version of that video. In the full version, there are not only more explicit scenes, but also clear dialogue between Vivian and the director. In the conversation, Vivian herself admitted that she was the one who actively seduced the director, all for the role of the leading lady. She even mocked Sebastian, calling him a clueless blockhead who only knew how to give money and had no sense of romance at all. She said that once she had used Sebastian to climb higher, she would kick him aside. This recording was like the sharpest knife, shredding Vivian's last shred of dignity and completely shattering all of Sebastian's illusions and self-esteem. If the first video still allowed him some room for self-deception, then this recording was undeniable, ironclad evidence. The internet exploded once more. This time, no one uttered a single word in Vivian's defense. Her commercial endorsements were all terminated overnight. The films she had starred in were pulled from release. The entertainment companies also issued a permanent ban against her. Vivian, the once glamorous and celebrated movie queen, plummeted from the clouds to hell in just 24 hours. And this was far from the end. Just as Sebastian was overwhelmed with issues regarding Vivian, I dealt him the most fatal blow. At the largest annual technology project auction in City A, the finale item was an exclusive patent for holographic projection technology developed by a national-level laboratory. This technology is the next big thing in the VR field. Whoever acquires it holds the future in their hands. Sebastian was determined to secure it. He personally led his team to the auction site, and that was when he saw me. Today, I'm dressed in a crisp white suit, sitting in the front row of the venue with Miles and Leo by my side. The moment Sebastian saw me, his eyes turned intensely gloomy. He walked straight over to me, looking down from above, his voice laced with venom. "Quinn, you really know how to play your cards. Flattery will get you nowhere." I picked up the teacup in front of me, blowing on the steam. "Compared to you, I'm still a long way off. Was it you who did this to Vivian? So what if it is?" I raised my eyes to meet his hateful gaze. "Sebastian, I've told you long ago that what you owe me, I will reclaim bit by bit." The auctioneer's voice cut through his words. "The auction is about to begin." He shot me a fierce glare but ultimately returned to his seat. The auction began. The starting price for the holographic projection patent was 100 million. Sebastian and several other tech giants took turns bidding, quickly driving the price up to 300 million. Just when Sebastian thought he had victory in his grasp, I raised the paddle. 500 million. I calmly announced a price that left the entire room breathless. Sebastian abruptly turned to look at me, his eyes filled with shock. He probably never expected that I had such substantial funds. He gritted his teeth and raised the paddle. 550 million. 600 million, I replied without even blinking. 700 million. 1 billion. When I announced this figure, the entire venue fell into a deathly silence. Everyone was looking at me as if I were insane. Sebastian's face had completely darkened. 1 billion far exceeded his psychological expectations. He stared at me intensely, as if trying to detect even a hint of forced bravado on my face. However, he was disappointed. On my face, there was only a calm, resolute smile. 1 billion going once. 1 billion going twice. The auctioneer's voice struck like a heavy hammer against Sebastian's heart. In the end, he dejectedly lowered the paddle in his hand. He had lost. Lost to the very woman he looked down upon the most. Bang! With the fall of the gavel, this battle without gunpowder came to an end. I stood up, walked over to Sebastian, smiled slightly, and extended my hand. Mr. Sebastian, I accept your concession. He didn't take my hand, only looked at me with a complexity in his eyes that I had never seen before. In those eyes, there was anger, resentment, humiliation, and even a trace of regret that he himself hadn't realized. Sebastian, I looked at him and asked, word by word, do you regret it? Do you regret, back then, giving up this queen, who could have brought you the entire future, for a woman with a heart as venomous as a snake? Sebastian's failure was like a depth charge, detonating a violent tsunami within the upper echelons of Citier's society. For the first time, that unbeatable favored son of heaven was utterly and completely defeated, in a manner that felt almost like a public execution, and by his ex-fiancé, whom he had discarded with his own hands. This was worse than killing him. I could almost imagine the mix of rage and humiliation on his face right now in his office. But I had no time to savor his defeat. Because I knew this was just the beginning. A lion backed into a corner would unleash its most desperate and furious counterattack. Sure enough, the studio ran into trouble early the next morning. Boss, this is terrible. Leo's voice on the phone was filled with barely suppressed anxiety and anger. The first batch of prototypes we stored at the Hongguang factory, along with all our core technical data, all of it was destroyed in a fire. My heart sank sharply, but my voice remained calm. Was anyone hurt? No, the fire broke out in the early hours of the morning, and there was no one in the factory. But all our hard work is gone. Leo's voice trembled with emotion. The fire department said it was caused by aging wiring, but we had just inspected all the lines last week. How could this happen? It wasn't an accident, I said coldly. In this world, there aren't that many coincidences. Wiring aging? That kind of ghost-befuddling excuse is something only Sebastian could come up with. He's using the most direct and brutal method to declare war on me. He thinks that by burning my product and my data, he can make me collapse in defeat. Boss, what should we do now? Should we report it to the police and sue them for commercial arson? It's useless. I shook my head, we have no evidence. If we call the police now, he'll just turn the tables and accuse us of slander. Then, are we just going to let it go? Leo asked reluctantly. Let it go? I sneered, how could we? Leo, listen. The data may be lost, but we can recover it, each of us has backups in our minds. The prototype machine may be burnt, but we can rebuild it, the production line blueprints are still there. He can burn our hardware, but he cannot burn our souls. What you need to do now is to calm the team's emotions and tell them that the sky won't fall. Within 3 days, I want to see a new prototype coming off the production line. But the funds? Don't worry about the money. After hanging up the phone, I gazed out the window at the gloomy sky, a chilling coldness in my eyes. Sebastian, do you really think destroying my products will make you the winner? You're underestimating me. And you're even more underestimating the power of capital. I immediately called Gianna. Gianna, I need a favor. Leak the news anonymously to the media that Sebastian sent someone to set fire to the Hongguang electronics factory. Remember, don't mention my name, just say it was a leak from an anonymous insider. Since he enjoys playing the public opinion game, I'll let him taste what it's like to be devoured by it. No problem. Gianna responded crisply on the other end. How dare he set fire to my sister's factory? I'll make sure he pays dearly. I won't just expose him, I'll hire the best influencers to push the topic of Sebastian's malicious competition straight to the top of the hot search list. After doing all that, I opened my laptop. Sebastian, did you really think your counterattack was limited to just this? No, I know, this is only the appetizer. Next, he'll definitely go after my studio in the capital market with a devastating blow. He'll use the sheer scale advantage of Titan Ridge Group to short all concept stocks related to me, cutting off my cash flow and driving me into a corner. Unfortunately, he miscalculated one thing. He thought I only had Blackthorn Capital and Illusion Technology in my hands. But he didn't know that I had one more hidden card that no one else was aware of. When I first established the studio, I used the identity of the most inconspicuous trader under Miles to register an offshore investment company overseas. This company was the sharp scythe I truly used to amass wealth. Staring at the K-line chart of Titan Ridge Group coiled like a giant dragon on the screen, a cold smile curled at the corner of my mouth. Sebastian, you like to play with fire, do you? Then I will pull the rug out from under you and set your entire nest ablaze. The following few days saw tumultuous upheavals in a city's business world. The news that Titan Ridge Group was suspected of malicious competition and arson at a rival factory, under Gianna's orchestration, quickly gained momentum and became the headline across all financial news sections. Although Titan Ridge Group's PR team swiftly stepped in to debunk the rumors, claiming it was malicious slander and threatening legal action. But there is no smoke without fire. This incident still caused Titan Ridge Group's stock price to drop by 5 points in response. And Sebastian also launched his long-planned plan to corner me. He collaborated with several major capital giants that were friendly with Titan Ridge Group and began frenziedly targeting all stocks related to the virtual reality concept in the stock market. For a while, the entire VR sector was in a dismal state, with losses piling up. Countless retail investors who were trapped began to vent their anger online, blaming me, the culprit. They called me a madman, who spent $1 billion sky-high price on patents but couldn't even produce a product, only good at making empty promises, and dragged everyone into a pit. Boss, we can't hold on much longer. The atmosphere in Miles's office grew tense to the extreme. Sebastian has mobilized at least tens of billions in funds. He's trying to crush us with sheer money. Our accounts have been forcibly liquidated several times. If this continues, all our liquid assets will be exhausted by him. I watched the numbers on the screen continue to plummet, my expression calm. How much is left? Less than 30 million now. Enough. I nodded. Notify everyone to stand down. We're out of the game. What? Miles froze. Boss, do you mean we're conceding defeat? Conceding defeat? I chuckled. No, we're going to watch the show. I opened the interface of another trading software. Displayed on it was the account of my overseas offshore company. After all this time of maneuvering, inside lay a massive sum of money, enough to drive anyone crazy. Miles, I pointed at Titan Ridge Group stock code on the screen, and spoke slowly, word by word, now, leverage all our money, and short it for me. SH. Short Titan Ridge Group? Miles' eyes widened instantly, his breathing became rapid. Boss, are you crazy? Titan Ridge Group is the leader in City A, with a market cap of nearly $100 billion. Our bit of money won't even make a splash if we throw it in. Who said it's just us? I took out my phone and dialed a number. On the other end of the line came a voice that was aged but full of vigor. Quinn, have you made up your mind? Yes, Grandfather Richard, I replied respectfully. We can begin. The one on the other end of the line was Richard, the chairman of Vanguard Apex Group. In my past life, because Richard had mistakenly trusted Sebastian, he was schemed against and devoured. The old man's lifetime of hard work was utterly destroyed, and he ended up dying of depression in the end. In this life, I found him in advance, laid out Sebastian's plans completely, and formed a secret alliance with him. Excellent. Richard laughed heartily. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Don't worry, kid, even if it costs me my entire fortune, I will rip a massive chunk out of Sebastian today. After hanging up the phone, I turned to Miles again. Now, do you still think we are just a mantis trying to stop a chariot? Miles looked at me, his eyes filled with shock. He finally understood that from the very beginning, I had set up an enormous scheme. All my previous actions, drawing Sebastian's fire and depleting his resources, were merely setting the stage for this final strike. Let's begin. I issued the final command. Yes, boss. An unprecedented campaign to corner Titan Ridge Group had officially begun. I, Richard, and several other investors who have long been dissatisfied with Sebastian, like sharks smelling blood, launched the most ferocious attack on Titan Ridge Group's stock price simultaneously from all directions. A massive wave of sell orders, like a downpour, instantly drove Titan Ridge Group's stock price into a deep pit. President. It's bad. Our stock price is being maliciously shorted by unknown forces. Chaos erupted in Titan Ridge Group's trading room. Sebastian's eyes were bloodshot as he glared at the steeply falling green line on the screen, roaring, "Investigate! Find out who's behind this. It's Richard. And several others. We can't hold out at all. Quinn." Sebastian slammed his fist on the table, veins bulging on the back of his hand. It's her again. He finally understood. All his attention had been drawn to the VR sector by Quinn, but he never expected her true target to be his own stronghold. Deploy all available funds. Support the stock price for me, he roared maniacally. At any cost, pull the stock price back. However, it was already too late. Just as Titan Ridge Group's funds and our short-selling forces were locked in a life-and-death struggle on the market, an even more devastating piece of news emerged. CEO, the Disciplinary Inspection Commission has arrived. They want to investigate our company for tax evasion and unfair competition. This news became the last straw that broke the camel's back. All investors who were still watching completely panicked. Selling, stampeding, frantic selling. Titan Ridge Group's stock price could no longer be saved. On the first day, it plummeted by 30%. On the second day, it hit the limit down at the opening. On the third day, it continued to fall to the limit down. A week later, the market value of Titan Ridge Group evaporated by nearly $70 billion, its stocks were forcibly suspended, awaiting investigation. A business empire crumbled within just 1 week. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window of Blackthorn Capital, looking down at the financial center of the city. That was once Sebastian's kingdom. But now, the foundation beneath it has been emptied, by my own hands. The building of Titan Ridge Group was deserted almost overnight. Partners who once came in a continuous stream now avoided it like the plague. The bank came to our door to demand debt repayment, employees were panicked, and the entire company had fallen into paralysis. Sebastian, once the lofty emperor of the business world, had turned into a stray dog, summoned for talks by the disciplinary commission and scorned by shareholders. He was restricted from leaving the country, and all his assets were frozen. I saw him again in an ordinary cafe. After just half a month apart, he seemed to have aged 10 years. His once meticulously styled hair was now disheveled, with a faint stubble growing on his chin, and his sunken eye sockets were filled with red streaks. His custom-tailored suit had become crumpled and wrinkled from days of rushing about. He no longer had the spirited confidence he once possessed. "Why?" He sat across from me, staring at me intently, his voice hoarse like sandpaper rubbing together. "Why would you do this?" "Sebastian," I stirred the coffee in my cup unhurriedly, not even bothering to lift my eyelids. "The winner takes all, that's the law of business, and you should understand it better than I do. I'm not talking business with you." He suddenly grew agitated, slamming his hand on the table, drawing the attention of everyone around. "I'm asking you. Quinn. Do you really not have the slightest bit of feeling for me?" "Feelings?" I finally looked up and laughed, the laugh dripping with sarcasm. "Sebastian, what right do you have now to talk about feelings with me? When I loved you to the point of losing myself and gave you everything, how did you treat me? When you slapped me in public for Vivian's sake and made me the laughingstock of the entire city, were you talking about feelings then? Did you talk about feelings when you used up my family's resources, then kicked us to the curb, causing my father to have a stroke and my mother to go blind? Did you talk about feelings when you watched me get hit by a car at your wedding with Vivian, your eyes as cold as if you were looking at trash?" My voice grew colder and sharper with each sentence. Every word felt like a knife, stabbing straight into his heart. His face turned deathly pale, inch by inch. What are you saying? His lips trembled. What, hit by a car? What are you pretending? I sneered. Sebastian, don't tell me you've forgotten. Or could it be that, in your heart, my death was nothing more than a trivial little matter? He looked at me, his eyes filled with shock and confusion. In that instant, I suddenly understood. He wasn't reborn. He had no idea that what I was talking about had happened in the previous life. So be it. Let all of this remain an unsolvable mystery in his heart forever. Quinn, he suddenly grabbed my hand, his grip alarmingly strong, his eyes actually holding a hint of pleading. Quinn, tell me, none of this is real, right? You're just joking with me, you're just, still angry with me, so that's why. I'm not angry. I calmly withdrew my hand. Sebastian, I have long since stopped feeling anything for you. Without love, there's naturally no hatred. Everything I'm doing now isn't to get back at you. It's just to reclaim what should have been mine from the start. My words were like a bucket of ice water, drenching him from head to toe, chilling him to the bone. He slumped into the chair, utterly desolate, muttering to himself, no, it can't be. You clearly loved me, you clearly. I couldn't be bothered to look at his pathetic figure any longer, so I stood up and prepared to leave. Quinn, he suddenly called out to me, his eyes red as he stared. Give me another chance, okay? Let's start over. I swear, I'll treat you well from now on. I'll give you the company, I'll give you everything. I just want you back by my side. This belated confession sounded so heartfelt, yet to me, it only seemed utterly ridiculous. Sebastian, I looked at him and said, word by word, with absolute clarity, are you worthy? With that, I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. I left him alone, sinking slowly into endless regret and despair. Some mistakes, once made, last a lifetime. Some people, once missed, can never return. Sebastian's final investigation results came out quickly. Tax evasion, malicious competition, commercial bribery. With multiple charges combined, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison, and all his illegal gains were confiscated. Titan Ridge Group, the once mighty business titan, declared bankruptcy and entered liquidation due to insolvency. An era of commercial legend thus came to a close. As for Vivian, her fate was not much better. After her reputation was utterly destroyed, her agency sued her for astronomical damages. To pay off her debts, she was forced to sell all her luxury possessions and move from the most lavish apartment in a city to a dim, damp basement. The former award-winning actress was reduced to taking on low-profile commercial gigs that were beneath her former status, even enduring harassment and flirtation from those once obsequious, sleazy bosses who used to fawn over her. Once, while scrolling through her phone, Gianna stumbled upon a short video. In it, Vivian was wearing revealing clothes and singing energetically at the opening ceremony of a shopping mall in a third-tier city. The audience below was sparse, and some even threw water bottles at her. She dodged in a panic, her face no longer carrying the aloofness and pride it once had. How satisfying. Gianna handed me her phone to show me. This is what you call karma, good and evil will always be repaid. I just glanced at it briefly before swiping away. For her, I didn't even feel the urge to gloat anymore, because she was no longer worthy of being my opponent. After Sebastian's downfall, the first people to come knocking were my so-called family. My father, leaning on a cane, stood with my mother, blocking the entrance to my studio. In the short span of a month, they seemed to have aged 20 years. Quinn. My mother burst into tears and threw herself at me the moment she saw me. My dear daughter, you've finally agreed to see us. My father also hobbled over, his eyes welling up with tears as he looked at me. Quinn, your father was wrong. I'm so sorry. I was truly blind back then. They began pouring out their troubles to me, explaining that the family group was also in crisis because of Sebastian's involvement, banks were demanding loan repayments, shareholders were pulling out, and bankruptcy was imminent. They pleaded with me, appealing to the bond of blood, to save the family. I looked at their faces, etched with scheming and exploitation, and felt nothing but nausea. Back then, when you forced me to marry Sebastian for your own interests, why didn't you remember that blood is thicker than water? Back then, when Sebastian humiliated me and you lashed out at me without even asking for the truth, why didn't you remember that blood is thicker than water? Back then, when you cut ties with me and drove me out of the house, why didn't you remember that blood is thicker than water? Now that your corporation is failing, you suddenly remember you have a daughter? Sorry, I took a step back, distancing myself from them, my tone cold. I can't help you. Quinn. Seeing that I remained unmoved by either soft or harsh tactics, my father's tone turned stern again. Don't forget. You carry my blood in your veins. Without me, you wouldn't even exist. Is that so? I took out a check from my bag, wrote down a number, and handed it to him. Here's 10 million. From now on, I'm buying out any father-daughter bond between us. Whether you live or die has nothing to do with me. You ungrateful daughter. He trembled with rage, yet he still clutched the check tightly in his hand. I paid no further attention to their cries and curses, walking straight into the building. Some familial bonds, from the moment they turn sour, are already dead. All I can do is bury them a little deeper. 1 year later. Amidst the world's anticipation, the first-generation VR product, Revelation, by Illusion Technology officially held its global launch event. As the chairman, I stood at the very center of the stage. Under the spotlight, I wore a tailored silver suit, my short hair neat and my gaze confident. I unveiled our product to the world, a revolutionary creation capable of overturning the era. It offers an unprecedented sense of immersion, unparalleled clarity, and interaction beyond imagination. When I was at the scene, using the apocalypse to enter the virtual world we had built and interacting in real time with a lifelike AI virtual human, thunderous applause and exclamations erupted from the audience below. The launch event achieved unprecedented success. The pre-sale orders for the apocalypse surpassed 5 million units within just 1 hour after the event concluded. The valuation of Mirage Tech skyrocketed 100-fold overnight, transforming it into a super unicorn that drove all investors into a frenzy. And I, Quinn, went from an abandoned rich housewife to a powerful tech queen who commands the world. My name made the cover of every mainstream media outlet. They called me the Iron Lady and the woman who changed the world. After the press conference, the company hosted a grand celebration. Everyone drank until they were thoroughly drunk, laughing and dancing. Leo held a trophy and cried like a 300-pound child. Miles, a man who always stays cool and composed, has also had his face flushed from drinking, and he's pulling me, calling me brother. Gianna is even more drunk, standing on the table, holding a champagne bottle like a microphone, loudly declaring that I am the most incredible investment of her life. Watching them, laughing, making noise, in my heart, there's an unprecedented calm. Once the noise has faded, I walk alone onto the rooftop of the company. The night view of City A spreads out beneath me, brilliant as a galaxy. I lean against the railing, the evening wind lifting the tips of my hair. The thrill of revenge, the joy of success, in this moment, they all seem to fade into a distant, faint blur. Did I win? Yes, I won. I trampled all those who had ever hurt or betrayed me beneath my feet. I gained everything I wanted, money, status, respect. Yet why does my heart feel somewhat empty? Perhaps when the flames of hatred are extinguished, all that remains is ashes. What are you thinking about? Gianna's voice came from behind me. She handed me a can of beer. I took it, pulled the tab, and took a sip, tilting my head back. The cool liquid slid smoothly down my throat, feeling quite pleasant. Nothing, I said, it just feels a bit like a dream. This isn't a dream. Gianna leaned against the railing, gazing at the night view in the distance, and said, You've earned this. How much hardship you've endured, how much suffering you've gone through to get to where you are today, only you know. Quinn, you don't have to live for anyone anymore. From now on, you only need to live for yourself. I looked at her and then smiled. Yes. The Quinn of my past life is dead. She died in that hopeless marriage, under those cold wheels. And now, standing here, is a brand new Quinn, one who lives only for herself. To us, I raise the beer in my hand. To us. Gianna also lifts her can, clinking it gently against mine. The clear, crisp sound echoes through the night,